Hey everybody, how's it going? Thank you for tuning in to This Is Real with Juan Martinez, aka Dr. Love.
And Stephanie Rave. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, man, the shows keep getting better and better and better and better. And I love the fact that, I always tell people, say, what's this? This is real. I go, real people, real problems, real solutions.
Yeah.
And we keep it real, right? In the streets. A lot of times we're like, keep it 100, keep it real, but it's a lie. It's like, and then if you twist something a little bit, it becomes a lie. And I think it's okay to be real and be who you are and stay right where you're at.
Yeah.
Because if collectively together, if we all know where everybody's at, then we can give a helping hand and we could all lift each other up. And we're all going to need it at some time or another.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully, if you've listened to any of the conversations, you've been able to, get something out of them, maybe increase your faith or help you in your walk. Or if you've watched somebody and you have a guest on and you can identify yourself with one of them. You know what I mean?
Well, it's always, we want to give the goal of the show is that in us keeping it real, because we're real people. With real problems, that we would find solutions in those things. Obviously, for me, I'm a believer in Christ, and so I believe that that's the answer to just every problem we have on the planet.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we're all in this together, and so that's the goal of the show. So big shout out to everybody who has been watching, everybody who watches Thursdays live at 9.
Yeah, Thursdays live at 9. You can join us on Facebook. Look up Juan Martinez, Dr. Love, and we have awesome converstions there. And plus, you get to interact with us because we read all the comments and answer questions and stuff like that.
We actually,
other than that,
you're involved in that.
Yeah.
Your involvement matters. Right? And
that's when it counts.
And on our show, we always say we bring on a bunch of people. We bring a lot of time music. We do music. Obviously, at the end of every show, we have a heavy hitter. And we also we haven't done the cooking thing yet. That's the next thing. Which I have the person.
We did a little bit. Well, we didn't do cooking, but we did talk about food a little bit whenever your son Jay was on. We talked about nutrition and stuff
dieting
like that.
and all that. Yeah, that was good. That was good. But we're bringing a chef soon. We're gonna bring the guy from Chef Table. So gotcha. So y'all could dialogue, and then obviously we always bring in Christianity into it because that's what we believe, right? And we all got crazy past and stuff, and so we really haven't hit the clothing thing. Every now and then, I just started thinking, and I love me some clothes.
We got lots of shows coming up. We're gonna integrate all of these things. So just so you guys know the gist of what our goal is, with the show.
While bringing Christ, because I wholeheartedly believe that God gave us all gifts and that we were created with purpose. And I think there should be news anchors that are I don't know if that's possible. Because they always
there's Christian news channels and stuff like that, to where everything is faith based and all of that. So,
nice.
Yeah,
we
you've
should
got
be in
movies. You got Pureflix is kind of coming up more. That one.
They gotta work on the Christian movies sometimes.
But it started kind of. I feel like Christian movies used to be real bootleg. They're a little bit better now.
They're getting a little better.
So
they're getting a little better.
Don't
You're
knock
right.
it.
You're right.
They're getting
Infidel
a little bit
was
better.
fire.
Yeah,
Infidel with the guy from Passion of the Christ, because I felt like in that one it was more real when it came to action and it wasn't like a Lifetime original. You feel me? It was like a movie that you were like,
yeah. Maybe we're not the movies yet, but there is a lot of Christian podcasts. There's a lot of Christian radio shows.
There is. This is real.
Music.
Come on.
So we're getting there. I feel like but the thing is, I like something just to finish that one that you always say is that. What happens is that we don't support them when they come out. We're like, oh, it's going to be whack. And so then nobody goes to the theater.
True.
And then that's why they don't make it to the theater, because we don't go and support it. So even if you thought it was like, man, they could have had a better actor, go put your money into it so we can get, Christ in Hollywood.
That's what's up. I think that's a good thing. And don't try to do the whole get it for $5 on the side. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not supporting the artist. I feel like maybe for artists. And so today, he's one of my brothers in Christ, family. So he's family. So he's a guest, but he's family. We've had a few conversations. We had a good conversation here recently, a real good one. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say on the air. I was gonna say live on television. I feel like I'm on television, but I'm gonna say this. I felt like if you look from the outside, he's very intriguing guy. I'm like, and it kind of always thought when I first met him and Lucky together that I was like, man, I felt like Lucky was like, yeah, crazy, and then he wasn't. And then it was like, I felt like maybe he, kept Lucky from a lot of more accidents than what he would have had. I feel like that guy, when they were both talking, and I see them in the old timeless thing and everything, and I just like, wow. And we just previously interviewed Lucky. And what had happened was that Coase walked in, and then he basically was validating the fact that, hey, this dude Extreme makeover. It's a real transformation. So we might talk a little bit about that. But first, let me introduce our guest.
Without further
ado.
Welcome.
Coach. Hey. What's up, Coach?
What's happening?
Hey.
Thanks for joining us.
So, hey. Okay, so I don't even know if people know this, right? Obviously, for me, in our conversation, I felt you were very intriguing. You seem very educated, right? And so, they say don't judge a book by its cover, right? And so and not saying that rappers can't be educated, but I am saying that most people, when they look, they stereotype instantly. So, but when I sat to talk to you, man, the dialogue was beautiful. Like, it was like, I was like, this dude reads or something. Like, this dude's educated. This dude's been through some life. Yeah. And I really enjoyed our conversation, which is why you're even in the studio today. Right on. Right? Obviously, the God factor through some prayer, but it was the enjoyment of that conversation. It was rich. It was deep, just on some of the things you said you were going through. And I hope that you could just, lay it all out on the white table. You know? Yeah. So tell us where you at, man. Where you at as
introduce yourself to people. Yeah. People
what you do? What you do?
How you know us? All of that.
Okay. So I make music. Predominantly, I'm a rapper. As I was telling Pastor Juan off camera, though, I'm really like telling people I'm a rapper. I just prefer to be more of an artist. But I came up with Lucky I've known him over 20 years now. He and I first started like almost at the exact same time. Wow. Yeah, so he and I got close
20 years. How old were you then?
I was fresh out of high school. I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 18. And me and Lucky ended up on the same record label and ended up touring the country however many times together.
So you went all around the country with rap. Rap is taking you everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, just all the different spots we would hit and seeing the things that I saw and witnessing or sometimes being involved in different things. Right. Fast forward to now, not now, fast forward to a couple years back, we have you onto a podcast that Lucky and I created. And I remember telling you when you came to be a guest on our podcast. I was not like in the know about it. Yeah. I showed up, I got all the equipment set up. Lucky tells me we're gonna have a guest today. Okay, cool. Who is it? It's gonna be Pastor Juan is coming in. I'm like, a pastor is coming on the show? Okay. But as soon as he says that, my mind is like going places like, what do I talk to him about? I don't have a history of being in the church and I'm extremely naive to everything that has to do with religion. Yeah. So when you came when you came in and you sat down with us, I already had it in my mind. I was just gonna sit back. I wasn't gonna say a whole lot.
You're like, I'm not gonna put myself in trouble.
I wasn't gonna say a lot. I was gonna let you and Lucky pretty much run things. Yeah. And if I saw an opportunity to jump in with a question or a comment or something like that, then I would do that. But for the most part, I just let y'all do y'all thing. Yeah. But it was from that experience, sitting down with you and hearing everything that you had to say and your testimony, I was already kind of curious about what was happening at church. Yeah. Just from seeing church people appear to be a lot happier than just, the regular type people.
I'm loving this conversation.
So I was always curious, like, man, what are they getting inside of that building?
What are they giving those?
What are they drinking? They're getting drunk.
What do they put in that coffee?
So I was always curious, and that's really all it took was the fact that
curiosity.
Yeah, I thought you were super cool.
Oh, that's thanks.
And the fact that Lucky was already going to your church. Yeah. That's all I needed for me to just start going myself.
That's cool.
That's dope.
Yeah, and I've been going ever since.
Wow.
That's dope. That's so cool. I love it. That's you get the vibe like that to me. Yeah. Because I've been like, I feel like everybody has somewhat of a story, right? Some come from like really bad story, like they're like, I hated church, religion and all this stuff. Yeah. And then they come, but the fact that, and I think we talked about it very briefly in the Luckily channel when you were like, him taking a few steps, had you take a few steps, even though you were already thinking about it. It's funny how you're like, yo, everybody, everybody. That's dope though. That it's like an inquisitive mind, which is what I was telling you in the beginning. That you seem very inquisitive and very educated, just in your conversations, and the fact that you're like, what is going on up in there?
Yeah,
I gotta get some.
That's really.
I gotta get some.
Yeah.
So were you like? Now you seem kind of quiet. You seem unless spoken to. Very observant type guy.
Right.
Is that pretty accurate or like?
Yeah, that's completely accurate. That's always been me. They always say you gotta watch the quietest person in the room, and I'm always the quietest person in the room. Like, why y'all wanna watch me? I'm just trying to be a fly on the wall. Don't turn around and watch me, man.
Yo, so okay, before we get into like, maybe like some of your church experiences and all that, I just kind of really, so you know all kinds of people. You were talking earlier about Baby Bash, you knew Lucky, probably SPM, people like that, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah, so these are all these cats that come out of Houston that you know. And we all know, I think I heard something. I don't know if Lucky was talking to you, or it was like a thing where he was like, I think Diddy came, like Puff Daddy came to like Houston. Yeah. And basically at this point, remember, they're not saved, and he's like he was scared to go with Lucky to the strip club. Yeah. So they were like, don't go with him, type thing.
No, I was not there for that P. Diddy story, but I heard it, and immediately when I heard it, I was like, I do not doubt any of what you tell me Lucky did in front of P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Because he was that type of dude to just walk up to somebody as you would think they're as unapproachable as P. Diddy might be.
Yeah.
And then just get all up in his ear yelling and saying, come on, Diddy, let's go do this
let's
over
go
here.
Do this. And so I guess my whole question about that is, how did you maneuver? Because it was like he was crazy, and then I'm sure there was, like, I know for me in that scene, even though I wasn't rapping and I knew cats that did rap, I played a role in that scene, right? Like I might have been bringing the weed or whatever, and in that scene I was just thrown off too. So how did you maneuver where you didn't wind up, you're the quiet guy, but you didn't wind up just in the chaos?
Yeah. So it was a couple things that always kept me grounded. The first one is I never really had an issue with substance abuse. So anytime everybody was out to, let's go find the weed, or let's go get messed up over here, or let's go, they got an open bar at this spot, let's hit it up, I'm always like, y'all go ahead, I'm cool. That don't even entice me.
Wow.
Yeah. And the second factor was I was with my woman for 17 years. Wow. And we were together through all the touring.
Really?
She wasn't on the road with me, but she stuck with me through all of that time, all of those years, going up and down different cities. And I took pride in the fact that I never once laid down with another woman while I was away, never cheated on her, did nothing like that. And so I'm not trying to hang out with y'all to go get messed up. And if y'all trying to go find some chicks,
so you were in love.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm hearing. Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's
cool.
Deep.
Yeah.
Especially in that realm.
Yeah.
That's rare. You're like a unicorn in that world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, really. Yeah, because I don't know. I didn't.
Were you raised a certain way? Did you go to church when you were young? What was your like? You get what I'm saying?
What made you want to? Maybe it was something that you saw the opposite, right? Maybe you saw a lot of cheaters and you're like, nah, I don't really want that, so I'm gonna keep my relationship.
What made you? Yeah.
Well, I think as far as relationships go,
I feel like the hand of God was in your life back then.
the fact that my parents divorced when I was like 1. So I have no recollection of what a mother and a father look like in a household together.
Wow.
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it entails. Nothing. The only thing that the only place my mind can go is what I've maybe seen in a movie or observations being at a friend's house or something like that. And when it came time where I found myself in my own relationship, I'm not entirely sure what it was that just had me to where this person is for me and no one else matters. But from the very beginning, day one, I looked at it that way, as I'm all about you. I don't care what is over here trying to get me to go over there. I don't care what's over there trying to get me to go over there. Yeah, and that's the whole way through. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep.
So that's the lane that you were explaining a little bit, Pastor, where you're just like, man, so then you're touring everywhere. You're obviously probably propositioned 1,000 times. So like, it's different versus if there's like a Christ follower, right? That's like, nah, like I don't, then they kind of have like that label. But for you, what's like your way? Because that's what you're asking, right? Like, basically, how did you kind of do that?
Where'd you get those? I guess at this moment you have more. Like, where'd you pick that up? Like, was it?
I've always just been morally strong like that, and I don't know what to attribute it to. It's just something that's always been in me. I've always been cautious as to who I hang around with, and when it's out of my control, say for instance when things are contractual, I have to be around certain people. Say Lucky, for instance.
You're like, I love you better now. Like, we can hang out
now. Yeah. So in those scenarios, all I could do was just give it my best to remain the same morally strong person as I could be, while also not trying to unravel or deter anybody from what they're trying to do. I don't want to be the party pooper. Right?
You're like, do you, I'm gonna do me. That was the mentality, right?
So in most instances, man, when we went out and did shows, I'll go out and do the show. Afterwards, everybody goes back to the hotel to get ready to go do the next thing, the after party, this and that. It wasn't no after party for me. Once I get done in the show, we go back to the room. I'm finna get in the blankets and
go sleep.
So you kind of built like your reputation that way, right? So then I guess the more that you expose yourself to that, the more people knew that's Coast. I'm sure they were like,
they gave you that room.
They gave you that respect.
Yeah, they gave you that respect. Oh yeah, because after a couple of years, they're like, okay, he like that. Yeah, they're like,
nah, they ain't going. There's no convincing.
There's power in that, though. There's power in that. Think about what we're saying here. That if you are a certain way,
no matter
what, even if you're in that industry or whatever you're in, you can carry yourself a certain way, and people are going to give you that respect.
Yep.
Even in the street, in the world, because I believe everybody's God's child. And then, obviously you got to be able to see when you accept them. But before then, I still believe God loves everybody,
Yeah. Because there's truth to you are who you associate with, right? But then there's also like, well, man, there's contracts. There's this legally, you have to be here. You have to do this. You have to do there. But you still stuck
you've been around actors and everything, even here recently, right? So that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
And you still carry yourself.
Yeah, I still keep those same morals about me. Now living a single life, it's a little bit. I'm in a gray area now because I'd been with the same woman for so long,
wow,
for 17 years, and now that and she passed away. So now that
we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But now that I don't have her to kind of be something that keeps me in line, it's like this huge gray area. Like, what do I do in these instances now?
Yeah, they're like, come on. You're like, maybe I could go.
Yeah, it's like, well, now I can. Am I going to? Should I?
Yeah.
It brings up questions that otherwise, I just repetition has always had me do one thing, but now I have freedom to do something different if I felt like it, and it's confusing.
Now you have to discern whether do you want to, do you feel like it or not. So I think that's really good. We'll get more into that after this break.
I got some questions. I got more questions.
Stay tuned. We've got Coast in the building, you guys.
Coast. Oh, I'm excited. I got more questions.
We left you guys with the cliffhanger. But welcome back. You guys are listening to This Is Real with Juan Martinez, a.k.a. Dr. Love. My name is Stephanie. We've got an amazing guest, Coast. And so we're getting to know him a little bit more.
Yeah, this is dope because I think this is important. I mean, you might be out there. I think what he's going to say right now, I don't know. I'm going to ask you this question. So, 17 years, she passes away.
Right.
And what happens to you?
As soon as she passes away...
Cause you love her, like you hear what he said. Like he was going home, he was
everywhere, and did not do nothing.
Yeah.
So her and I had got together when I was like 18, maybe 19, something like that. Fast forward 17 years, and that's the majority of my adult life.
Yeah.
All I know is I was a kid, I was a teenager running around in the neighborhood. Next thing you know, I'm booed up all the way.
Yeah.
Like this me and this.
Booed up.
Yeah,
like
it's me and this girl, and it don't nothing else matter.
Life, yeah.
And so when she passed away, I didn't know what to do with myself, and
life's over. That's how you're feeling too, right?
Yes. I felt like there's nothing left for me. And I learned in these times that I am not a suicidal person because it's something that I contemplated, but I could not get myself to actually go through with.
Wow. And
I just continued to be in this dark place, always feeling bad about myself, and I had no optimism whatsoever. And then down the line, Lucky and I start becoming cool again. He's starting his transformation, and he's becoming a lot more easier for somebody like me that's, I'm not really into the whole party type of thing. His new character now is someone that I'm a lot more comfortable being around. So he and I start getting closer in that aspect, just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then we start doing the podcast together, and then that's when you come in.
Wow, I didn't know nothing about
Pastor Juan comes in, and I'm already teetering on this. I'm so miserable. I don't know what to do with my life. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I would see these people come out of the church looking like they had something about them, and I did not possess that quality, but I wanted to know exactly what it was they were getting inside of that building. And so, And
so even in that, because then you had a conversation, was this the same thing that Stephanie, because she doesn't know, I don't think she knows. Is this a conversation that you had, do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you recall, but we had a conversation one time, and you were asking me what it was that brought me into the church in the first place.
At the church house?
Yeah. And I told you, I had difficulties finding happiness, and that's when you explained to me the difference between happiness and joy, which I still remember that. I love that.
Hit us. What she say? Hold up.
Hold on. I'm kidding.
So Stephanie broke it down to me.
I remember.
Yeah, she told me, she was like, Coach, do you understand that there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy? And I said, yes. And she said, okay, so do you understand then that there's a difference between being happy and having joy? And my mind said, I said, no, I had never thought of it that way. And as the conversation continued on, Stephanie was telling me that I need to learn how to change my thoughts. I look at things from a certain perspective, and after a certain point, it kind of becomes like a self-sabotage thing, because I allow myself to dwell on things so much, and it gets me nowhere.
Yeah.
But if I could just teach myself to change the way I think, change the way I look at things, and find the blessings inside of what might be troubling me, or the things that I think are happening to me instead of for me. I started to apply that to the things that, with being without my lady, and no longer thinking, oh, poor me, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And then more so, well, I'm happy that she's no longer suffering, and she don't have to be here for all this COVID and all of that, none of that stuff, you know what I mean? But what was so interesting about us having that conversation, and you telling me that I needed to learn how to change my thoughts, and the way I was applying it to a deceased loved one, I never told you, but almost 1 week after we had that conversation, my best friend from the neighborhood, I'm talking about best friend, like I would tattoo my body with his name because we were that cool. He passed away.
Wow.
And had we not had that conversation, I would more than likely be one of the dudes that was just all broken down and beat up over it and wouldn't know how to contain my emotions or anything like that. But since we did have that conversation, I was at the hospital when he passed away, and the word came down. We were everybody was kind of outside in a little waiting area, COVID, trying to waiting to hear his
status.
The status of. They told us he passed away, and in that instant, it was like you could hear groans from everybody that came there. I immediately walked out to my car, and I sat down in my car, and I cried one time, good time. And then I got back out of my car, and I went back, and I approached his family and all the friends that showed up, and I started trying to be that person that they could lean on and tell them, we need to change the way we think about this.
Wow.
Yeah, we need to learn. We not learn, but we should be changing our thoughts about this whole scenario right now, because yes, we lost him and it's a sad time, but let's stop looking at this like if it's something that happened to us, and more so it's something that, you know, he's not suffering no more. He had got shot a few years ago, and his like 6 or 7 years he had been living with complications due to him being shot, and ultimately that's how he passed, was just complications of it. But he gave us all those extra years that we could have never had. So we got to be thankful for all that.
That's really good.
Oh yeah, all that fight that he gave just so he could hang out with us some more and be there for his family and his kids and things like that. If anything, this was a moment to celebrate. And had it not been for that conversation that you and I had, I would have been so beat up. And I know I was there for a lot of his family to try to open their eyes to see things differently, and I know that in a kind of indirect way you helped heal a lot of other people through what I was passing down through.
This made me cry. Made me cry. That's wow. And to me, that's what it's about. Like even like I think sometimes people have a, you know, whether Christ was misrepresented through maybe someone who went to church, and I think a lot of times there's this misrepresentation that, oh, it has to be like this, or people come and it's more about head knowledge. But like what you just said right there is total picture of the church, right? Because boom, lucky, then I come into the podcast, you're hurting, I don't know, but God knows, and somehow he makes an appointed time, you're listening at that moment where you're at the cusp. Your curiosity, then boom, let me go check it out and see what's in there. Boom, Stephanie comes in the picture. She gives you a thing. Boom, you took that and basically reproduced that into a whole nother crowd. That's probably reproducing. And that's what it's supposed to be like.
All this other cycle, stuff. You know? Yes. So, I mean, I'm honored, and I thank you so much that, you know, I'm very intentional about our conversations, you know? And so whenever you said that you went to your car, cried, and then you went back, I feel like that was the beautiful moment, right? Because you were intentional. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to shift the atmosphere, and I'm going to make something different that maybe you didn't have whenever that news came to you, you know? So I appreciate that. And I don't really know what to say, but wow, thank you. You know what I mean? But thanks for sharing it, you know? Thank you for being honest. I'm just grateful, you know?
You know what? I know we usually go, we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll come back, and we're going to run them through the test here of some stuff, man. we love our segments. We're going to run some segments. We're going to run coast through the segments. We'll be right back. Yo, we're back. Man, this has been, I don't know. To me, this is one of those shows that I'm going to say is just incredible. And I mean, we talk to a lot of people, and obviously a lot of times, you know, you hear like people breaking down verses or scriptures, and those shows are cool too. You know, they're all good. They're you know, to me, they're all good. I feel like they all serve its purpose, you know, and I feel like this one has total purpose in it. I love your transparency. I love your vulnerability and how you're able to open up and really just be you, right? You're not trying to be anybody else but you, and that's a beautiful thing. I am going to ask you before we jump into the segments so I want to ask you, because boom, you know, something was happening in there, people are coming out joyful. What would you say has been your experience thus far when you walked in to something that some people think, oh, church, taboo, all that? Like, what was your experience? Because I know that there's a lot of cats, like I said earlier, maybe misrepresentation, or it ain't like, I feel like everybody at our church is kind of like raw and real. Like they pretty much like, this is what you get, you know? What's your experience thus far?
So I was coming from, so I was baptized as a Catholic as a baby. And the only times I ever gone to church was for
Christmas and Easter.
Christmas and Easter, weddings, stuff like that, funerals.
Yeah.
So my only experience with going to church was on those once and every now and again. You know, the Catholic priest was always so monotone, and I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
You can't be monotone too. And with a little kid, I'm gonna fall straight to sleep.
Yeah. I was exactly that. Yeah, I was there too.
Yeah. So once I became old enough to make decisions for myself as to whether or not I wanted to go to church, no, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
and listen to the monotone guy. I'm good.
With the little smoke.
Yeah, I'm good. No, y'all go ahead without me.
Yeah.
But watching movies, stuff like that, you see the black churches and the pastor is all turned, everybody's turned up, dancing around, coming through the aisle, doing cartwheels and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's entertaining.
Yeah.
There has to be something that's kind of in the middle of this Catholic
You're like, that's
experience that I
entertaining.
had.
I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
So when I walk into
That's
Get
funny.
Rap Church, and
That's so funny.
I this is my first time experiencing for myself anything other than a Catholic church.
Yeah.
And it was just, it felt good. It felt uplifting. There was nothing monotone about it. Nothing that had me just
everybody
like
loud.
checking the time, how much longer it's gonna be here. It just felt good. The entire vibe was like, I want to come back again.
Wow, that's dope.
I want to continue to come back. And as I was telling you, just luck would have it, I go to church one Sunday, the following Sunday, COVID shuts down the entire everything. And I'm like, is this a sign that I'm not supposed to be in church?
Did I do something wrong? Did I break the system?
Oh, that's funny.
But thankfully, Pastor Juan was gracious enough to still hold online services. So I caught all of that. And then when the churches did finally open back up, I was there.
Nice.
Would you say you find yourself inwardly smiling more? Like, now you know what we're drinking?
Yeah. Now I have a better understanding as to what those people were getting this whole time.
Yeah, but it's been like what, 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been
2 years, and so it wasn't always like that though. Because can I share another conversation that we had?
Yeah.
Because I think it was like the 1 year mark, right? That you were like,
okay,
do you remember that one where you were like,
y'all be having some deep conversations. I like it.
And well, I'll share. For me, I think I kind of met Lucky at the same time, where it was like Pastor Came had the podcast, and it was like, then I met Lucky and Kelly, and then it just so happened that they lived close to me, so I kind of hung out with them really quick, really fast, and then I would see you at church on Sundays, and I'm kind of like an includer, I'm always like saying hi to people and stuff like that, but then I just felt like you were very alone in the sense of, well, I'm not gonna go be with Lucky and Kelly. You would just go on your own, but
that was dope.
You didn't really associate with other people. So I sit at the back, so I observe everything. So I'm like, I would kind of try to drag you and, hey, meet this person. Have you met this person? Right? You know what I mean? And then I feel like later on, I think it was at a growth path, right? I think you had stuck around for one of the classes, and you shared with me you didn't want to join any team. That's what it was. You didn't want to join nothing yet.
I'm my own team. He's like, look, right now.
But you had been coming for a year, and I think you shared with me that, because obviously you're not there anymore, but at the 1 year mark, you were like, you know what? I've been coming for a year. You're like, I'm here every Sunday. And, I like it. I enjoy, I have a good time. You're like, but I don't really feel like anything else has changed, right? Like, I feel a little bit better. I like it when I'm here, but I can't really say anything else has happened. And I asked you, I was like, well, what are you doing other than just coming on Sunday? Right? Like, have you tried to include yourself with other people? Have you reached out and let people know? Because, again, it was kind of like that thought of, like, they see a rapper and they think, well, he comes from this drug abuse or this crime lifestyle. And that wasn't you, but I feel like people didn't really know that. You hadn't really opened yourself up to that. But then I feel like maybe you connected with some more people, or something shifted, because now you're like, well, that's totally different, but that's 2 years later, right? So what would you say was the shift after, being in the church every Sunday for a year,
It might have just been that discussion that we had, because Stephanie is good about putting me in my place.
Yo, we don't look at the whole media team. Everybody in the back now is like, "Amen, brother, amen, amen."
Like Stephanie.
Wow, she even did it to Coast.
We don't.
Well, I'm the same. At least you guys know I don't play favorites.
We don't have like conversations so regularly to where things are forgettable. But I can say in the handful of conversations that her and I have had, there's always been that moment of, dang, you're right.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know why I was thinking on that wavelength that I was thinking. And just like she said, what are you doing outside of coming on Sundays? And I was like,
well, I don't think I said it like that. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
She said it like that. She was like, rough.
Yeah. But I was like, nah, she's got a point. She's completely right. Like, I can't just show up on a Sunday and expect that to carry me through the rest of the week. Really good. And if I'm not applying anything to my life, of course I'm not gonna see any results.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So no.
So you changed it. So you start like.
Yeah, like I started, trying to reach out to people a little bit more, and once again trying to change my thoughts, the way I see things, and trying to get out of my head a little bit more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hit him with a segment. Which one you want to do?
All right. So let's start with let's go to Struggle Was Real. Okay, so we do a segment here called The Struggle Was Real, right? So it could be something that we want you to share that you're struggling, that you have struggled with, but that you overcame, and how you overcame it, right?
Or even struggling right now.
Yeah, it could be something that you're currently struggling, and then you're like, you know what, I need to get through this. I know I can get past it, and this is what I'm doing to get over it.
Yeah, I think he said a lot of it already, but go ahead. I would like to hear.
Okay, so I'll try to throw something in there that I hadn't already said.
Okay.
The struggle was real when it comes to forgiveness, because I had always, I don't know why I found myself proud of this, but I crowned myself as the king of holding grudges. Like,
wow.
Yeah, like
wow.
if somebody had ever did something wrong to me, I'll hold a grudge against you to the last years.
Wow.
Maybe even a lifetime.
And you ain't breaking me.
And and you can't do nothing about it. I'm always hold it against you.
Yeah.
And then, so there was one service, the dude Brian T.
Oh yeah, Brian.
He was doing the service for you, and he was talking about forgiveness and how he came to forgive the people that took his brother away from him. And meanwhile, a mutual friend of mine and Kelly and Lucky they're joining us, and her baby daddy had just gotten murdered. And so she's next to me crying because she's relating all of this to her situation. And I'm relating this to my situation because low-key, I've always looked at the passing of my fiance as provoked.
Yeah.
Something provoked her.
Yeah.
So this girl next to me is crying. I'm feeling some kind of way, and I'm like, man, I'm finna stand up and walk up out of this church. I can't comprehend forgiveness. And
wow.
Yeah. But I stay put, and I took that home with me, and I dwelled on it for a while. And
so powerful, everything you're saying right now.
Yeah, it took me a few months, but finally I just built up the courage. I got my phone and I reached out to the person that I felt provoked my fiance, the person that I've held accountable for the fact that I lost her, and I offered that person forgiveness.
Oh, that's dope.
And it took, I felt drained. It took everything out of me to do that, and I probably didn't feel any optimism around it for the next few days. But once it settled in that I did it, I offered forgiveness, regardless if they responded to me or not. I did it.
That's dope.
It just felt like this weight was taken off of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
The power of everything you're saying. So you hear a word. I love this about you. It was, you got me in tears right here because it's just, I love, like, I was hearing you and I was hearing, we read the Bible and stuff. I just seen it work you know, obviously I see it, but in this situation right here, you were like, this girl's crying, you're hearing the word, it's hitting your flat, you know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get up and leave, but you don't. So you continue to listen. You go meditate on that word day and night for months, which is, the Bible says, if you meditate on the word day and night, you'll be successful in all you do. So you meditate, you basically fighting yourself,
right? And
then you finally do it from all the dwelling, allowing that word to just sit in your heart, and it literally renews your mind or changes the way you think, right? Because that's what you did,
right?
You went from one way of thinking that you could have stood stuck on, and you changed it, and it just changed everything. And today, my hope is that somebody's listening or watching, and that they say, if you could do it, that they could do it too. And that is the gospel. Man. You know, that is the beauty of what's even happening right now. You know, you got everybody here teary-eyed. See Stephanie Lip moving. G back there, big and all. He like he's shaking. It's just a beautiful thing, man. It's beautiful.
It's powerful. We're gonna move into
thanks a lot for that.
Another one. Amen. We're gonna go ahead and go to You Think You Know Me, right?
Ooh, this is a good one.
Because I feel like you've shared a lot of who you were before, and then a little bit about how the journey that you've had in the last 2 years or so, right?
Right.
So I'm sure there is, you know, misconceptions of you that people may have, whether they thought you were something before, you know, when you're living the life that you were living before, or maybe now to where you can share those things. You walk back into a hospital room and say, you know what, guys, let's flip this.
Yeah.
You know, or you just have casual conversations with people and say, I tried this thing and it changed me. You know, and I may not feel like I'm there all the way, but there's something different, right? So you share with us, You Think You Know Me, some misconceptions that somebody may have about you, and what's really the truth. And
you got to start it off with, you think you know me.
Okay. So you think you know me on the outside level, on the skin level of things. You think you know me as being maybe unapproachable. You know, tattoos.
Yeah. You got that look too. Sometimes. Yeah.
I'm rarely ever caught just somewhere smiling. You know what I mean? I'm always to myself. But really, it has nothing to do with me not wanting to disassociate from anything or anybody. It's just I have this issue where I'm stuck in my own mind a lot of times, and it's to the effect that it keeps me from being as outspoken as I wish I could be. And in more instances than not, it takes someone else to approach me to say hello, for me to actually say, hey, how are you doing, type of thing. And then we can start interacting and doing all that kind of thing. I'm rarely ever the person that's gonna initiate conversation like that. So if any of the people that get rapped are watching this, you see me there on a Sunday and I'm by myself and I look like don't come over here, that's not it at all.
That is so good. You probably killed this better than most people on the show. Usually we're like, do you think you know me? And then they say something else. You nailed this. You think you know me.
That's really funny. Open invitation for everyone to approach Coach.
Come say hi. I'm super cool, man. I just be a little bit shut in, that's all.
That's what's up.
So funny.
I like that. That was dope. That was
true,
like I hit the ba and the mic drop and the I mean everything. That was fire.
We got a couple minutes left. We're having a blast, like an amazing time in this
great.
show.
I love this show.
We do one called Dear Younger Me, right? So that one, we want you to paint us a picture of a younger version of yourself. It can be as a child. It can be as a few years ago. It could be, you know, anything. Who was Coast? What was he like? How old was he? And then if you could go back in time and give him,
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Like Back to the Future. You got to jump in the DeLorean.
You got to jump in the DeLorean.
Yeah. You got to say that stuff.
Jump in the DeLorean. Take us back. Who was that Coast? And what would you tell him? What piece of advice would you give him?
Man, I would, if I could hop in this DeLorean, I would go all the way back to, just my first memories as being a child. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what happened, when it happened, what it was that had me just kind of sink into my own mind so much to where I wasn't outspoken, or I wasn't trying to always be involved with people, or just I was just trying to be by myself.
Yeah. So you remember that as a child? Like, how old were you?
I've always been this way.
Yeah.
For as long as I can remember. Even in the neighborhood with, you know, all my homeboys, like, I was with the guys who was doing the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I was always there with them. And as loud as they would get, as much dumb stuff they wanted to do, I was always there, but I was always in the back, quiet. Like, I'm not going to interject. I'm not going to add on to anything.
I'm not going to stop you.
I'm not going to stop you. I'm just here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of back here. So I've lived my life with this flaw to where I live in my head more than I live in the moment. And if I could go back in time to whenever this clicked inside of my head, I would do whatever I could to stop that. Because
what would you say? What would you say to that young Coast? Boom, he's chilling there. He's got to fit it on.
Like, what's up, Coast?
What's up, Coast?
How would you tell him? Cause
what would you say? You got to fit it. You got to fit it. What would you tell him?
Man, I would tell him that you miss out on so much more that life has to offer if you continue to just live every day inside your mind. It's like a prison in a sense, to where, you know how they say people in prison say you can lock up my body, you can't lock up my mind. I'm like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like, my body is free, I can go wherever I want, but my mind is got me shackled. It only allows me to think certain things, or my mind will keep me from believing certain things. And so I would tell that younger me, like, don't get caught up in that, because it's gonna hurt you in more ways than you can imagine. If you really want to blossom and be this happy person, happy versus joy, I know. if you want to blossom, you know, this is what it takes. This is what you have to remove from your own characteristics.
That's dope.
That's good.
I love it. I love everything you're saying.
I gotta ask you, do you have joy in your life now, Coast?
I'm on my own pursuit for joy. I have not attained it yet, but I know exactly.
You know what you're aiming for.
I know what I'm aiming for.
That's fire.
I appreciate that.
Hey, man, you know what? Thank you so much, Coach, for being with us on This Is Real. This was fire.
Yeah.
I love this, just the conversation and everything. Don't forget, if you're out there, remember there's a way that seems right to a man that always leads to destruction. That means that when you think you're making a good idea, it usually ends up in a bad thing. And you know what? There's story after story that says that when people find Jesus Christ, they find life. So that's your choice. Choose life.
Thank you.
Juan Martinez from This Is Real.
And I'm Stephanie Rave, and we're so glad you joined us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you get notified every single time we have a new episode.
And don't forget, in Houston, Texas, on 100.7 FM, every single Saturday night, we're on the airwaves from 6:30 to 7:30, man, with real people, real problems, real solutions. The show is rocking.
Amen.
But not only is the show rocking, we're also reaching 53 cities, 51 state and county jails and prisons. And what we're doing is we're bringing the word to them. We're bringing them some laughter and some good times and some fire.
Amen.
And so for that, we need some partners. So if you want to partner with us, please click on the link below.
And don't forget to follow us on social media, #ThisIsReal, or on any other platforms, Pastor Juan Martinez.
Hey, that's a wrap. Peace.